My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts
on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm gonna do this entire opening with his voice. Maybe I'll just skip on up.
The Dave Robinson voice. You know, I'm trying to have fun with this, but it ain't working today. And, well, you know, what I did was I took a second, took a few minutes actually, had a drink of coffee, and I said to myself,
slow down, man. You gotta slow down.
And the other side of me said, no, I don't want to slow down. I want to go fast.
And then I finally said, nope. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna say a little prayer to the Lord up above. I'm gonna relax a little bit for a second, take a drink of my coffee, which I did. And then I'm going to crush this mother. Because this is important stuff we gotta talk about.
Let's go!
All right, I'm back. I'm back to sanity now. Oh my gosh. Lordy. I'm literally sweating here. Everybody knows how this stuff works now because I fully explained it over the past couple of screw-ups here. But look, we still have good numbers. I've been on here so long, these earbuds normally start hurting me after about an hour. I literally started this show an hour ago, and I'm just now getting to the point where it's happening, okay? So, all right. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight, folks. This is important stuff, really. Listen, that was a good intro. We finally did it. And I'm watching the media the day after some incident happens. Remember, I always say when there's breaking news, the media doesn't really know how to spin stuff. There'll be idiots that come on. You know, one time I was on, not saying he's an idiot, but I was on with a deputy director. I can't even remember the guy's name was. He was on CNN. They stopped using him. But after the shooting or the terrorist attack that happened in San Bernardino, and I was on set I was on the phone. He was on set, and he says that this is one of the things I think bothered CNN about me because I was always truthful. He comes on and says, you know, this is almost undoubtedly going to be a white supremacist attack because of the location. In fact, it was a church and yada yada. I don't remember how he tried to make that into a white supremacist attack. So I came back and said, you know, we don't know anything, and for you to be able to make some kind of judgment call like that when they're still looking for the people that did it, I think is absolutely ridiculous. And so it's the same thing today. I'm watching, they have the congressional baseball game on right now. It goes on despite the GOP shooting. And I got to be honest with you. I'm going to talk about this throughout the next, 40 minutes. I'll try to keep this kind of short because I know people got to get out of here. But both sides are playing this. And I remember a reporter immediately asking somebody yesterday, do you think that they will that this will start to be politicized? How could it not be politicized? It occurred in a political function with the most political, I don't want to call people bad names on a day after something happened, but any other day I'd be criticizing these people hard. I can't not criticize them just because somebody got shot, quite frankly, because you know what it is? I didn't say anything about this yesterday. Capitol Police did an awesome job of reacting to the attack. And I'm going to talk about this. I might as well talk about it now, I guess. They did a horrible job of preparing for this. Well, let's just give it what it is, okay? Capitol Police are like any other law enforcement agency, okay? It's made up of real hard chargers that want to be out there. It's made up of long-time cops that have been there forever, and they have pretty much become complacent and forgotten the reality of the threat. Now, the thing about Capitol Police is it's engulfed in politics. And what happened was they didn't have adequate coverage at this game. How could they not think in this day and age, with all this hatred and all this nastiness going on, that there's not a legitimate threat? You know why they didn't think that? Because there was no known credible threat. Again, no known credible threat means that they're not going to prepare for it. That's exactly what happens. And so we have a congressman that's on the edge of life right now. We have another lobbyist. I hate the fact that this individual got shot, but, you know, he was a lobbyist, which, you know, I don't think they should be out there anyway. What is a lobbyist doing out there? See, that's what I'm talking. That's the creepy thing about this whole deal. A lobbyist got shot, and everybody's kind of skipped over the fact that there was a lobbyist there. That's how closely related these people are. There was a staffer that got shot in the calf, but this lobbyist was so close to these people that he got shot. A lobbyist for Tyson's Food, I believe it was. There's so many different things going on here that are being overlooked just because, remember, the mainstream media is not about giving you a big, clear picture. They're about picking up the most salacious things and spinning them and running with them as fast as they can until they basically peter out, and then they just go to something else. In this case, I think we got a good example of how close lobbyists actually are to these congressmen. Ridiculously close. I think we got a good example of how politics affects law enforcement, that they weren't able to have realistic threat assessment done and actually have people out there guard. Just because it's a practice doesn't mean anything. You don't have to. They had one protective detail out there with the congressman that got shot. Okay. Other than that, it doesn't sound like they had a lot of representation of law enforcement there, which is kind of odd considering who it was and who was out there. You don't have to have a protective detail for every single congressman when they're in an area where they're all congregated at. You just simply put up a perimeter of law enforcement. Sounds like they didn't even have that. Seriously, it's just absolutely ridiculous. So I've been seeing all this stuff on the news where they're overlooking all these different things already. They're talking about CNN. They've already gone back to talking about the fact that Trump is thinking about getting rid of firing Mueller. They're already past it. CNN, if this was a Democrat that was shot and on the edge of life, they literally would have reporters set up probably in the hallway right outside giving a beat per beat, the guy's heart or girl's heart analysis. Yes, the heart's still beating. Beep. It's still beating right now. Beep. This is Trump's fault. Beep. The Republicans are scumbags. Beep. Yeah, that's what would have happened. And they would have been saying nasty vitriol, nasty stuff. That Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters would have been calling for Trump's impeachment because if a person had gone up and said, "Who are these people?" The Democrats, boom, and started shooting. Let me tell you something. It would have been bad. It would have been real bad. And I even surmised that the person probably would have been shot faster because the way these Democrats in Washington, D.C. are, they're all liars. Most politicians are liars, period. But they probably have more guns guarding them than the Republicans do. That's probably the facts of the matter. They probably would have eliminated this guy real quick. Nancy Pelosi says today in a press conference that the congressman is dead. Now, instantly I started getting text messages from people that I know saying this is very odd that Nancy Pelosi made this mistake. I mean, how do you make the mistake in saying that somebody's dead when they're not? Was the guy supposed to be dead? I don't know. That's conspiracy theory, but it's very odd. It's odd. I don't think that most people make that type of a mistake. Let me turn on my my Twitter here and put it up here where I can see what people are saying on Twitter. I don't want to miss that. You know, all these Twitter muscles. I love blocking these Twitter people. Trying to use good language. Let's see here. Pull it up. Boom. So, yeah, we got some numbers on Twitter. Good. So, okay. Here's what I want to talk about in the A block. I'm going to go over this. I was on Sean Hannity's radio show. Rick Unger and I usually join Sean on Thursdays. Sean's was down there for the baseball game, so he was broadcasting there. Rick Unger and I were on via the telephones. So we make sure this turned all the way down. So we had a very spirited discussion, and I told Rick on the show, if I was him, I would be. I'd be careful calling Sean Hannity an idiot, because Sean Hannity is somebody who cares greatly about this country and has done a tremendous amount for veterans in the past, and quite frankly knows more about government than probably just about anybody even in government. I know Sean personally, and he's an amazing guy. So you got to be careful calling Sean an idiot. You're saying no Unger. Well, let me tell you about Unger, okay? Now, and then I'll go to the A block. Rick Unger, believe it or not, I know he's a liberal, but Rick Unger has been an incredible mentor for me. He's taught me a lot about being on the radio. He's taught me a lot about making accusations against people unless I have proof of the accusation. He buried me one time on the radio. I've told that story on here before. He buried me because I was talking about something that I still think was true, but I didn't have the correct evidence for it. And so he then started slamming, and I said, why? I went to break. I was like, why are you doing this? He said, because you shouldn't be talking about stuff that you don't have the proof for. You make yourself look stupid. And we didn't talk for like 2 weeks, but then I realized he was actually being a good mentor for me. Rick is a realist. Those of you that don't know Rick Unger, I recommend that you follow him, because Rick is very liberal. But Rick is a realist. Rick's not somebody who, I always used a light bulb analogy where one person wants to put a ladder up, the other person wants to put a stick up with a suction cup on it to grab the light bulb and change it. Rick Unger is not going to call you a racist for wanting to use a ladder. He's going to try to figure out which way is the best. He has biases because of the way he grew up, and Rick wasn't in the military, he wasn't in law enforcement, so he's going to look at things a little bit differently. Rick's a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire, so we're going to see things differently. But Rick is a realist, and he's kind of stuck a little bit. And this is a thing with liberals that I really want people to understand. Okay, I had a discussion with somebody yesterday after the show, and they were trying to get somebody, a relative that they know, to watch this show that's liberal. And I didn't realize as I'm going through the show that as I'm saying leftists and communists and leftists and liberals, that there are people like Rick Unger who are liberal. And Rick really takes offense if somebody calls him communist. It's a hurtful thing for him because he loves his country. And I think liberals in general, a lot of liberals, are not as far away from the way conservatives think as they would assume that they are. I think the majority of people in this country, whether they voted for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, fall in the middle, and they want effective things done. It's when the strings get pulled with the right, there's frustration. With the left, they're constantly being pulled towards a more leftist ideology. And one thing I definitely discovered from talking to my friend yesterday is that there are liberals that are free thinkers, and they're searching. And that's what we have to be careful for, is I don't want to push people away. When I told Rick Unger on the radio today was that, man, listen, you need to distance yourself from what's going on with this shooting and with the rhetoric of the leftists, because, and just the leftists in general, because it does not bode well those people are communists. And if you're a liberal, and first of all, you need to find out what liberal really means. Okay, you need to define that. What does liberal actually mean to you? If there's somebody on here that's liberal, let me know what you think. What do you think being a liberal is all about? And if you're conservative, I'm conservative. This is basically what conservative is. Slow to change. All right, we believe in the Constitution. We don't believe in revolution. We believe that the government should be limited. The states should have more power than the federal government. That's basically what a conservative is. We believe in constitutional rights. So if you're liberal and you don't believe in that, you've got leftist tendencies. But if you're liberal and you say, I believe in the Constitution, I believe that people should have their rights guaranteed. If you're liberal and you say, well, I think that the federal government should be a little bit larger. Hey, listen, I get that. Okay. It's not what the Constitution was written to say, but I understand things change, and we have morphed into a country of 300 million people. So we're a bit larger than we were. You need a little bit bigger of a federal government. I agree with that. But we can debate that. To say that the states have rights over the federal government when it comes to what the definition of murder is, I don't think that the states should be able to make a decision over the federal government over that. But I think the reality of it is, with most people, whether you have a more liberal slant. Okay, here's this guy again. Somebody that just saw that pop up there needs to. I'm going to block this person. I'm not going to deal with this tonight. So if somebody sees this, I'm not going to say it over the thing. But somebody go after this person. I'm going to block them right now. Although I can't block them for some reason. That's odd. Okay, we'll see. Anyway, I'm not going to get lost in this tonight. Twitter needs to start looking at this. Somebody keeps popping up here and writing some vulgar things about children on here on Twitter. So somebody take a look at this and go after that person and report them now as fast as they can. If it pops up again, then I'll block it. Okay, so I'm going to have to stop paying attention to this stuff. You see how instantly I get enraged when something like that pops up on Twitter. One of these days we're going to find out who that is. All right, just if you see it on there on Twitter, you guys are knowing that I'm talking to you, report that as fast as possible. And if it pops up again, I'll block it. So you see the fact, like that thing just popped up there. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative. You're going to sit there and say that thing, that is weird. That's disgusting. And the point is liberals and conservatives. You can't really, if you define yourself by this stuff, it's nonsense. What you need to realize is that you're being told what to define yourself by. You're being told that if you have this one belief, like whatever, if you have a belief that there should be social programs or that the housing should be taken care of or minimum wage should be higher, then you're going to automatically be told that you're a liberal. Well, you may not be a liberal. You may just understand something a little bit different than other people and have a strong feeling in that. I don't think that you can consider yourself a constitutionalist, though, and believe in that abortion is something that should be legal. I think we should take religion away from the abortion issue, and we should just say, the Constitution says that a living being has the right to life, and we can't just take that away. Anyway, that's a whole nother program. So the point is, all this stuff that I'm talking about right now has to do with, okay, hold on a second here. I don't know who you are, but you don't have to prove a point on Twitter on my show, so go away, idiot. All right. Okay, so we just blocked that person. So somebody report them, whatever. So here's what I'm trying to get at, folks, is that America needs to figure out the reality of effective thinking and solutions, and they need to knock off this conservative liberal nonsense, because we're being made to pick sides and it's not working. It's just pissing people off, and it's causing people that are mentally unstable to go towards doing one thing or another that might be violent or make threats here and there and different things like that. It's important that the people step up to the plate where the government is not stepping up to the plate and the media is not stepping up to the plate. Now, I'm going to give you an example today of the reality of how bad the politics are in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm going to play something that was made by a Republican who was injured yesterday. His staffer was shot in the calf, but I'm gonna use this as an example. Okay, let me just say this one thing: Viral Hog calf. But I'm gonna use this as an Viral Hog has been harassing this show on Facebook, and I think Facebook's in cahoots with them, because every night they say that we used 11 seconds of their audio or video, even if we don't use it. I don't know who Viral Hog is. I think they buy and sell different sound bites and stuff. But stuff that's in the public domain that comes across the news that I record off of television, Viral Hog has no claim to that. I think literally they're in cahoots with Facebook just to simply knock people off and harass them off of Facebook. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this, and I want you to listen to this nonsense, because it is nonsense. I'll stand by 1 second. Let me pull this up here. Now listen to this, and this is a politician trying to gain points by saying that we all need to come together and kumbaya and this and that and this and that. Okay, so let me play this, and then we're going to go to the A block. Oh, hold on a second here. Stand by. Okay, don't know why that's not working. There it goes. Okay.
Broken, I'm sure, all of you who went through this. Congressman Williams, when you learned that this shooter was after specifically Republicans, what went through your mind? And when you woke up this morning, did you think that all of this was just surreal?
I thought that, yes, when he said he was looking at Republicans, I don't know that this is a Republican-Democrat issue. This man evidently had a lot of anger. He took it out this way. I think we can work harder in Congress and across the country and dialing down the rhetoric that we sometimes have. And I hope that this game, which had to be played tonight, will begin that process of bipartisanship, loving our country, and agreeing to disagree in the proper way. So I hope that...
Okay. I hope that bothers you as much as it bothered me, because, again, you don't have to have, and I know, listen, I'm going to be hard on these people. I mean, this is a reality, okay? Just because this person was caught up in a shooting yesterday, that really doesn't say a whole lot for me from a standpoint of that I should feel sorry for the guy. I feel empathy. But this was Representative Roger Williams, Republican from Texas. Okay, if you're from Texas and you're watching this tonight, that should bother you greatly. I'm going to play that again. I want you to listen to this nonsense, okay? And I'm going to point out specifics.
That will never be broken, I'm sure, all of you who went through this. Congressman Williams, when you learned that this shooter was after specifically Republicans, what went through your mind? And when you woke up this morning, did you think that all of this was just surreal?
I thought that, yes, when he said he was looking at Republicans, I don't know that this is a Republican-Democrat issue. This man...
Okay, so what point does this man who's one of your representatives, Texas. This man is he that dumb? I don't think he's that dumb. I think he is a politician that has sold his soul to re-election and to the Republican Party, which you can clearly see is in cahoots with the Democratic Party. They spin this stuff so nonchalantly that when something like this happens, all they can do is back up and backpedal and talk about how we need to come together. If this guy, either he's the biggest idiot in the world, or he's such a politician that he can't sit there and say, you know what? Listen, I was shot at yesterday because of the language and the motivation by the leftists in the Democratic Party telling people to go shoot people, telling people that putting up pictures of the president beheaded on plays when the president's being killed. Black Lives Matter, which is a representation and affiliated with the leftists in the Democratic Party. That's why that shooting happened yesterday. That's why the shooting in Dallas happened. That's why the shooting in Louisiana happened. And this guy's going to tell me, he's going to tell the American people that he did that.
And when you woke up this morning,
I thought that, yes, when he said he was looking at Republicans, I don't know that this Republican Democrat issue.
He's going to tell the American people he doesn't know if this is a Republican Democrat issue. And you wonder why Congress is in such bad shape. Might as well go to the A block. Let me finish this. I don't even know why I'm going to the A block, but I wanted to break it up a little bit. Okay, so this guy goes and says this nonsense, okay? Fox News, I'm watching I watch Fox Business, but then I turned over to Fox News, and I'm listening to Martha McCallum. I think it's a wonderful person. I've only walked by her once, and I don't know her. Continued to push the blame on both sides. They didn't want to blame any one particular person. As I said, CNN's already moved on. They were barely even talking about this stuff today. They were showing the baseball game and stuff, but overall, they were already back on the Russian issue and the Mueller issue, and now they're talking about obstruction of justice by President Trump. Give me a freaking break. I'm shocked. I really am shocked when I turn this stuff on. I know I shouldn't be shocked anymore, but it's amazing to me how fast, not just that the news turns over, but how fast this spin takes effect. Folks, listen. Like I tried to tell Rick Unger today, there's frustration on the left because our Constitution, right? Our Constitution, it's not big. It's not that many pages long. It's not hard to understand. It is like the Bible. There's no interpretation needed in the Bible. If you're one of these Christians who thinks that the Bible was written by men and that and it came from the minds of men inspired by God, you're wrong. The Bible was meant to be interpreted literally. This happened at this point in time, and God feels this way, and you should live this way. It's literal. Okay, there's nothing that should necessarily be interpreted in there. Things have changed throughout time. Societies change. But I was looking back at some stuff today about how marriage is and how men should treat their women. And I didn't see anything in there that was unfair or made women out to be less than men. So when it comes to the Constitution, it's short, okay? And it needs to be taken seriously. It needs to be taken literally. Conservatives, people who are free thinkers in this country that are constitutionalists, they understand that. They don't want to change the Constitution. As I said yesterday with Ron Bell, and we don't need a revolution. We need a revolvolution. We need to revolve back to where we were, not evolve into some type of a communist country. We don't need that. We don't need the revolution. And free thinkers see that. They realize they live in a country where they have the ability to do and be what they want. But the left, the liberal left, again, I'm using the term liberal left, but the leftists that are far beyond just liberal, they have a concept of our Constitution that just doesn't exist. It just doesn't. They think it's living, breathing. It's not. They think it has to be interpreted. It doesn't. It is what it is. And if society changes where, like it did, thank goodness our Constitution was in place. Can you imagine if our Constitution was living and breathing? There would have been people that when we went to free the slaves, that they wouldn't have let it. They would have come up with some political reason not to free the slaves, not to give women equal rights. That's the facts. Conservatives, free thinkers, whatever you want to call yourself, even a lot of liberals, they're frustrated because the Constitution is constantly being messed with. That they don't want change. They just want to be left alone. They just want to survive. They want to work. They want to be the best they can be, raise kids, come home, enjoy the weekends, have a beer. Man, I was wanting to have a beer. I don't even have any beer in here, but I was wanting to have a Corona Light earlier. I was so frustrated. Thank goodness I didn't. I might not have come back to the show. I'm going to talk about what we should do in a minute. Somebody just asked me that. But the fact is, we have to differentiate between the frustration on the right and the ideology of the left. What's happening on the left is not frustration. These people want to make you think that they hate Trump and they're frustrated by Trump and that Trump is the cause of it. Trump's only been in office for a couple months. Okay, he hasn't had a chance really to change much of anything. Meanwhile, we had a communist in office for 8 years. New York City has a communist in office right now. Their ideology causes violence. Their ideology calls for violence. Their ideology, which is communism, and liberals, if you're watching this, you need not get upset. I would love to have this conversation face-to-face with Rick Unger and go further into what we did today. Rick was getting a little upset. I legitimately meant it. He should distance himself. He's better than this. If he wants to debate me or Sean Hannity or anybody else about the reality of what should change and what shouldn't change, that's fine. But I keep wanting to say the word vitriol for some reason. The vitriol, the bad language, the ideology that comes from the Democratic Party and all these activists that are associated with it, from Hollywood, from ESPN, from community organizers, from big money donors. This type of ideology is very, very similar to fundamental Islam. It wants to utilize political correctness in order to divide the country and subvert the country. That's what they want. I hear people all the time just make stuff up saying that, Islam is not about domination. Islam is not about trying to overthrow countries. I mean, I don't know what history books they're looking at. They say the same thing about communism. They say this, that our Constitution, or that communists should be allowed to hold office in California, which they're trying to pass a bill now. I don't know if they did or not. I mean, at what point does the government start to realize that people are an enemy to the state? I don't care if you're a citizen. If you believe in communism, you should be considered an enemy of the state. And if you believe in socialism, you need to take a step back and realize you believe in communism. Socialism is a dangerous thing because it is the great lie. Communism doesn't really lie. Socialism is the great lie. It convinces people that, hey, listen, we're going to give you free stuff and you're just going to give us a little bit more control. We're going to take a little bit more money, but we're going to give you free everything and we're going to take care of you. That's not what happens. The government becomes stronger. You have to realize, if it was good people like you and me and people that go to my mom's church and loving people, and they said, listen, give us everything you have, we'll take care of you, make sure you have a great life, we'll do all the work for you, I probably would trust them. I would tell you, I mean, if it was me, I'd say, listen, you need to work and earn your way in life. That's the way you appreciate life. A free ride is not going to get you any meaning out of life. But you have to come to the table and you have to realize, folks, whether you're liberal or conservative, whether you're a man or woman, black, white, brown, you know, you're from Asia, you're from Ireland, you have to realize, I don't even care if you're American, you got to realize this. Psychopaths, narcissists, weirdos, pedophiles, they're in politics. And those people want to be at the top. They want to control you. True leaders don't want to control you. True leaders want you to take initiative and be your own leader. But that's not what politicians want. Politicians want you to be subservient. And the two political parties were built so that you would be subservient, so that you're not a free thinker. You think you're being a free thinker when you vote somebody into office through the Republican or Democratic Party, but you're not. If you were a free thinker, you'd be saying, hey, Joe, or hey, Mary Jane, you need to get up there and run for office because you're a great leader. You're a veteran. You're somebody who has done amazing things. You run a successful business. You get up there and I'm going to push you forward. Or you would say, you know what? We need to fix this thing. I'm going to go run for office. But that's not what the Republican Party tells you. They tell you, you will vote for this person because that's who the Republican Party is supporting. And the Democratic Party does the same thing. And you're not really given a choice. You're not a free thinker. The difference, though, is true conservative people and people who have the idea that the federal government should kind of be bigger. That's really what defines, in my mind, a liberal. Liberals are emotional. Liberals, they want the federal government to take care of more things. They want their state government to take care of more things. Liberals want government involved. Conservatives don't. We can hash that out. But liberals, you got to take my word for this. Conservatives who make stupid comments and say that we should go after a politician or that somebody's life should be threatened, it's the same thing. I know that people are going to say you're being biased on this, but I'm telling you the truth here, okay? With the goodness of my heart, I'm telling you this. When I was on, you know what, I'm going to play this for you real quick because this is a perfect example of this. When I was on CNN, let me pull this up real quick, if I can. When I was on CNN, no, we don't need you, Siri. And I was debating with Peter Bergen. It wasn't supposed to be a debate. It was supposed to be where we were talking about Islam and the reality of what was going on with Islam. Let me see here. Yeah, I can pull this up. So this is Peter Bergen. Peter Bergen is the guy that...
I disagree with you there because Christianity...
So Peter Bergen was the guy who interviewed Osama bin Laden in a cave. That's his claim to fame. And somehow, like everybody else that CNN loves to use, you know, he sticks with their narrative. So he's a hero as far as CNN's concerned. He's a liberal bully who thinks that he's some kind of great all-knowing person with in as far as terrorism goes, although he's never served in military or anything, and he just writes books, you know. But he wants to listen to what he has to say, and listen, I'll come back at him here.
He's almost certainly a Christian fundamentalist.
Hold on here.
Everybody who bombs an abortion clinic.
Okay, that's it right there.
Thank you for joining me for another episode.
All right, hold on a second. Let me get through this one little entrance here.
On tonight's episode,
Yeah. All right, hold on. Stand by.
In the media and by
This is a lead in on my sizzle reel.
Anybody who bombs an abortion clinic in this country is almost certainly a Christian fundamentalist. Very few Christian fundamentalists attack abortion clinics. And
I
that's
mean, I disagree with you there because Christianity is not built on the same thing that fundamental
Islam was built on. Christ didn't go through the world conquering like Muhammad did 1,400 years ago. So there is a fundamental difference there.
Okay, I'm not going to have a theological debate. I'm just making the observation that there are.
Well, you should make those
fundamental
statements then.
Well, joining me now is Jonathan Gilliam, former Navy SEAL.
So that's the reality. You know, you can't say that Christianity is that people that go through killing in the name of Christ are Christians. You can't say that. That's not the way that it works. Now, that's different than if you're over in the Middle East and the Christians that are being hammered over there, and you stand up and you go over there and you serve with them and you kill some of the ISIS fighters or whoever else is coming up against them. That's totally different. You're fighting to save Christians' lives. But to say you're going to bomb an abortion clinic and that you're a Christian and that's why you did it, that's not the way things work in the Christian religion. It's the same thing when we're talking about the ideology of the Democratic Party and the communists that have infiltrated it and the frustration on the right. The people that are motivated to say mean and nasty things that are conservatives on the right, the majority of those people are frustrated. Somebody on the right that would pick up a gun and do something at this point in time has got issues, because right now, as I've said before, we're not to the point of picking up guns. We're at the point now of just getting people awake and noticing and recognizing that there's problems in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, understanding where the problems are coming from, that our Constitution is being manipulated. We don't even have a citizenry, conservative or liberal, that sits down and talks to each other and has dialogue. That's what time it is. It's time to do that. But on the left, you see, the difference is on the left. The stuff by the elite at the top of the Democratic Party, they are the ones that are calling for violence. They're the ones that are saying by any means necessary. They're the ones that are saying, like Hillary Clinton, that that they're a part of the revolution or of the movement. They're the ones that are instigating this violence. And then you have leaders who are activists in the community. They're also instigating these things. They say, well, like Black Lives Matter in Texas, they say, well, we're not the ones that was just some guy. Okay. It was a guy who had dark skin, who, as you were saying things about killing cops, picked up a gun. He believed in what you said, and he went out and killed cops. Okay, you're insinuating it. It's no different than if I run into a crowded theater and I yell fire and people run out and get injured, and then I think I'm not going to be responsible for that. Well, I would be responsible for that. How is it that Democrats can say that they want that by any means possible they should get rid of Trump, or they should say stuff that's very violent, or they should applaud when Kathy Griffin does something like holding up the head of the president, or they have the Caesar play Shakespeare in the park here at Central Park, and they do a mock execution of President Trump, and then somebody goes out and picks up a gun and acts on that? Or when Bernie Sanders and his supporters go out and beat up Trump supporters at rallies and start fights inside the Coliseums where the rallies are going on, and then when somebody actually does something to the point where they shoot somebody, Bernie Sanders says, or however he says it, I wish he'd just fall over myself. But, he's saying all this stuff about whatever it was, he says, I don't agree with that. I don't think it should be done, blah, blah, blah. But yet he's the one that is out there with his followers instigating this violence. Bernie Sanders people were all over the place starting fights during the campaign process. If you're liberal, we're not against you. If you're liberal, you need to realize that the place for debate isn't in politics. The place for debate is at here with us, where we sit and we talk about this stuff, and we sit and talk and say, okay, you want this and I want this, and I think it should be this way, and I think the light bulb should be changed with a ladder, and you say with a stick, and we come to a conclusion together that this is either the most moral, ethical, or effective way to do it. Sometimes there's more than one way to do it. Sometimes neither one of us are right, and we need to figure out another way to do it. But you cannot rely on the people in Washington, D.C. They're liars, they're psychopaths, they're narcissists. We are the ones who have to figure this stuff out together. And I recommend that if you're liberal, you start distancing yourself from the Democratic Party. And if you're conservative, I suggest you start mounting an effort to overthrow the Republican Party. There should be a mutiny in the Republican Party. And you know who should take over that party? The people. And I'm not afraid of liberals being a part of that mutiny. But I'll tell you this, if you think you're going to come over and you're liberal and you think I'm liberal and I'm going to come over and then you're going to try to change the Constitution. That ain't going to happen. Looks, even if you didn't come over, there's going to be a point where people are going to push it. Hopefully it won't happen. But if you push too far on whether or not to change the Constitution, you want to start a civil war, it's not going to be by shooting a congressman. It's going to be by trying to effectively change the Constitution. That will start a civil war in this country. If you're liberal, get out of the Democratic Party. If you're conservative, you need to start working to overthrow the Republican Party. And here's the other thing. Here's people who should be afraid right now. If you're mega rich and you play these games back and forth with, you're supporting this communist or supporting this conservative or Republican just because they're going to give you what you want, all you got to do is look back 101 years ago. Go look at what happened in Turkey when the politicians bowed to the Muslims and they created a caliphate and killed 1.5 million Armenians. That's why that happened. Because politicians allowed that caliphate to be established because they wanted power and they wanted prestige. They weren't necessarily believers. They allowed a genocide to happen in Armenia. It's the same thing here. If you allow the Democratic Party to come in, I don't know if they're going to start killing people if you allow them to completely have their way, but I can guarantee you this, they are going to slay the Constitution. That's the truth. I'm just reading what people are writing here. I'm not going to lie. So I made a big mistake today. When I got ready to start this show, it was freezing cold in here, so I turned my air conditioner down. This air conditioner I got, the buildings, they always supply these things. I turned it down too far, and it hasn't come back on. I'm sweating bullets here. Not only is it hot in here, but I'm also drinking coffee while I do this thing. So anyway, that's first world problems, I guess. All right, here's what I'm going to do, folks. It's 10:46. I wasted so much time getting this show started today. We had great numbers, though, regardless. Except for YouTube. Let me see what we got here on YouTube. 9 people watching. I love all of you. All 9 of you. We're going to find out who this knucklehead is, though, on Periscope that keeps coming up here with these different pedophile sexual names. We're going to find out who that is. Yes, you're right. Patriotism needs sacrifice. I said that last night. It's blood. Freedom is won, and freedom is sustained by blood. It's not. Comfortable people don't go out and win freedom. All right, gritty people go out and win freedom. They win it by shedding blood. But here's where we are now. Your freedom was won 200 years ago. You're at a point now where you have to sustain your freedom. And if you think you're going to sit on your couch and drink a beer every night and go to your bass boat and hang out with your girlfriend, or you're a girl and you want to hang out with your boyfriend and you think it's cool because you look this way, or you dress that way, or you got a man bun or a big beard, or you love to take selfies for Instagram, and you got a dog, and you live in a van, or you live in a small apartment in Manhattan, or you wanted that great job and you finally got it, and you think that that's going to sustain because your life is okay, that freedom is going to be sustained, you are wrong. You're wrong. That is where you're closer to losing freedom, is when you get engulfed in your life so much that you forget service and you let politicians run amok unchecked. That's where you lose your freedom. This is the tightrope that you walk in a free society, is you have to learn to enjoy it, but protect it. You have to learn to utilize your freedom, but not stop sacrificing for it. You have to realize that, folks. I'm very proud of everybody coming back here after I kept screwing this thing up tonight. Mueller not only should be fired, Mueller should be in jail as well. The fact that he hasn't recused himself, I think, should be something. I think Mueller and Comey should be in jail. I think they should be looking for whoever did these leaks, and they should be in jail and charged with espionage and charged with maybe working for foreign entities, because I think communism should be declared a foreign entity. I think an enemy of the state. Communism should be declared an enemy of the state. Doesn't mean we have to go out and start looking for communists and throw them in jail. But if anybody has a march and says they're communists, they should go to jail. If they try to run for office and they start implementing, whether they're saying they're socialists or however they're starting to implement communist stuff, they should go to jail. Charged with aiding and abetting an enemy of the state. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. On TV, you see ambassadors, you see these Washington, D.C. retreads, and somehow they just continue to stay there. Somehow they continue to spread this stuff. And then you get somebody like President Trump that comes in that's not a politician, that hasn't worked in government. You don't have to be a politician to run Washington, D.C., but you better have worked in government so that you can see the nonsense that's going on. You think you're going to play games with them, man. You're wrong. You are wrong. All right. I think that's it. I think I proved my point tonight that I love liberals and conservatives both. If you're a free thinker, you should be able to sit down and have dialogue. And if you're a liberal and you're taking offense to me saying the word leftist in association with liberals, then this is what I advise that you do. Stop being angry at me and start being angry at the Democratic Party. First off, we're not even supposed to have parties in this country. That's not the way the Constitution was set up, and that is not. George Washington warned against it. This country was meant to stand firmly, supported by the minds and efforts and the blood, sweat, and tears of the American people, not political parties. You want to refresh on that, go watch Monday's show. We talk about Company D and Company R and how they use Company A. That's Democratic, Republican parties, how they use America. Anybody else got anything? Eleanor, you're not going anywhere. I'm not done yet. Annie, who's Otto? I don't know who Otto is. All right. Here's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to the Truth Zone. I'm going to say a few words. And then we're going to get out of here. Ted Nugent, what did he say today? Is Ted Nugent on here? He should be. Thank you, Jim. Oh, listen, Otto, the guy that returned from North Korea, I got two things to say about that. Don't go to North Korea. That's the first thing. And that kid's going to die. All right. He's brain dead. There's nothing they can do about it now. I don't know that for sure. The medical report that I saw today that he's brain dead. All right. His death should be revenged, but don't go to North Korea as a tourist. That's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's like, I'm going to go hang out with Charles Manson in prison and hope that something bad doesn't happen. Yeah, who vacations in North Korea? I don't know. Listen, if there's anybody who's mega rich that watches this show, we need to start something, okay? We need to start a network. We need to start a new Facebook. We need to start something, okay? There's got to be an evolution here, not a revolution. We need to evolve social media-wise. Contact me offline through my website, not through Facebook or Twitter. They'll try to steal the idea. All right, let's go to the Truth Zone. Man, I love this music. Thank you, Brian Gosher. My buddy Brian Gosher made this music for me, and I can't thank him enough. All right, here's the deal. We made it. See, we persevered through the technical difficulties and the nonsense. One thing that you can definitely learn about this stuff, okay? When things start going wrong in life and it gets compounded, you have to stay cool. Okay, you got to stay cool and maintain your role. You can't let yourself get frustrated. And you can't allow this nonsense that's being spun by the media and by politicians and by activists. You can't let it get to you. If you're liberal and you're watching this right now, or if you're conservative and you know liberals, let them watch this. And I'm speaking right to you, liberals. I love you like a brother and sister. I'm not mad at you. I want to stand next to you, and I want this country to stand strong. But I can't help you if you don't see reality of what's going on. You're being played by a subversive element. You're being told that things aren't fair. Well, things aren't fair in life. You're being told that, like Chelsea Manning, that you can go out and commit espionage and be a traitor against our country, and then you'll be set free. Who tells you that? A subversive communist ideology led by Barack Obama. Traitors like James Comey and Loretta Lynch and Susan Rice. The fact is, if you are liberal, stop defining yourself by liberal. If you're conservative, stop defining yourself by that word conservative. You need to take a step back and analyze what you actually feel about the Constitution. If you agree and you say, you know what, for 200 years it's worked. In fact, it's worked so well that now you do have equal rights. You do have the abolishment of slavery. You have hope, and you don't have tyranny. All that goes back to the Constitution, which was crafted by the Founding Fathers. If you agree with that, let go of the terms conservative and liberal and start being free thinkers and coming together and standing together. But if you can't let go of that, then you need to admit you are an anarchist, you are a communist, and you are not an American. It's your choice, but stop being emotional. Be a grown-up. Stop getting hung up on the fact and turning stuff off when somebody says liberal this, liberal that. You need to listen to what they're saying. There might be some proof to it. And when I say stuff about the Republican Party and you're conservative, don't just turn it off. You need to look at it and realize there's something to it. I say it every night, folks. The only way we're going to change this is if we change it. And that's all she wrote. I'll see you all tomorrow for the Friday Night Toast. Man, tomorrow is Friday. We'll do the Friday Night Toast. We'll start things on time. And as always, Rico and I will bring the truth to you. One team, one fight. The truth has arrived. Join me. I hit the wrong...
I hit the wrong button. Those of you that are watching right now, and you're wondering what's going on, what happened to the music? Well, I'll tell you what happened to the music. We started off with technical difficulties, then my fat finger hit the wrong button. So, I'm just going to take a drink of coffee, and I'm going to slap myself right now for screwing up the ending of this show.
All right, now I'm good to go. I'll see you tomorrow on the Experts. Let's try this again. Here we go. This is my interpretation or my impersonation of Dave Robinson. This is the truth. We're not going to screw it up.
The truth has arrived. Mic drop.
You know, somebody just wrote, Jesus is coming. Well, let me tell you something, folks. He is coming, and you better get your crap straight before that happens. And part of that means we better get this country on track. You don't want the Father coming back with the house in disarray. And what we have, only God can grant, and that's freedom. Let's do it.